All right, here we go. Welcome to this edition of the Baseball Forward podcast, a movement committed to passing the beautiful game of baseball onto the next generation of ball players and coaches. I'm your host, Ross Hawley, and I want to thank you for spending some time with us wherever you might be watching or listening from. If this is your first time with us, welcome. For exclusive video clips and outtakes of this and all the other episodes of the Baseball Forward podcast, go give us a follow on social media at BaseballFWD or at RossHawley39. And for more information on joining the Baseball Forward movement, visit us on the World Wide Web at baseballforward.com. This episode of the Baseball Forward podcast is brought to you by Southpaw Hat Company. Don't let the name fool you. Southpaw hats are designed for everyone, not just you funky lefties out there. Check out their latest and greatest at southpawhatco.com and enter code BALLFWD at checkout for 10% off your entire order. Today's guest conversation features national champion and head coach of the Augustana University Vikings baseball team, Mr. Tim Huber. Here's episode 30 of the Baseball Forward podcast. Tim Huber.
Ross, how you been, man?
Man, I'm good. It's good to see your face. How are you?
I'm good. I'm plugging away in the December month here of what we deal with in South Dakota. It's finally getting cold. We had such a nice fall. Weather was warmer than normal, and here we are. It's getting to be cold in winter, and I've said this for years though. People are like, oh, it doesn't get cold up there. How do you deal with it? I'm like, I don't care what cold, snow, do whatever it wants until we get to late February and then start flipping the switch to an early spring. So
that's what it is, man. And you know what? Man, I played at Augustana for 3 years. Sioux Falls, South Dakota is one of the best towns, cities I've ever lived in. And the weather never bothered me one bit. You make do with what you have, but I love Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I want to know this. It's early December. You guys are rocking and rolling. What does a head baseball coach do in December as all these guys are going through their finals and leaving for home?
The boring stuff. It's office work. I try not to get in my office if I don't have to, but now it's office, make sure hotels are set, bus scheduling. It's nothing exciting so we're doing a first pitch banquet. You probably saw that info this January 4th. So, getting things lined up for that, and auction items, of course, because anything you do in our world has to be fundraised. So, doing as good a job as we can to prepare and put on a good setting that night. And hopefully we're trying to see if we can get some community members to show up. So I think there's probably a little more work this December than I would say normal for me just to prepare for that event because we've never done it before. So,
gosh,
a lot of that.
I want to say this, man, and I know I say this to you like every time we talk, but it's important for me for people to know kind of what I feel about them. If it's good, I don't say anything bad. But man, I'm so proud of you and what you mean to Augustana and what you've done with Augustana baseball. I mean, guys, Augustana baseball is one of the perennial national powers, always contending, College World Series, former national champion. What this man has come and done at Augustana University is amazing. And if you're listening to the Baseball Forward podcast today, this is Coach Tim Huber. Man, I really encourage you to follow this guy and pay attention to what he's doing, because all he does is win. And Tim, you and I being friends for the years that we've been now, it's easy for me to see why you're so successful, because everyone speaks highly of you, but it's you do things to a standard. You do things to your standard, and it's a winning standard. And I just want to say, man, I am so proud of Augustana baseball, what you've done, and what it means to all the guys that have come before you.
Yeah, no, well, I appreciate it again. This is year 17 for me. It's actually pretty amazing to think that I've been here that long. I mean, it means we're getting old, right? Because we're about the same age. So that just means we're getting old. I've been here a while. And I don't know. I mean, I've said this term a lot. We're just in a sweet spot right now in our program. And, we're just because we're kind of preparing for this event, you start looking at some of the things you've accomplished, and it does. It makes you feel really proud of all of those accomplishments. And, a little quick stat for you. We did the math on number of games won since 2018 to this past year. And there's only two teams in the country that have won more games than us. Tennessee, which you know what they've done recently. They're the number one team, and Angelo State down in your neck of the woods.
Dang.
been really good, and then we're right there. We're like 2 wins, one or two wins behind Angelo, and I think 4 wins behind Tennessee, since 2018 in that stretch. And it's just crazy to think about. You don't know that, and then you start looking like, gosh, I wonder where we stack up nationally. It's like, wow, I guess we are there. So that's been fun. It really has.
Dude, it's amazing to hear that. I mean, holy cow, Augustana baseball, like I told you, national power, but I heard a quote. It was a quote the other day of it was Scott Frost returning to UCF, and he says, when you're on the ascent and you're climbing the ladder of success as a coach, you can be blinded and distracted, and you forget to pay attention to your happiness. One thing I've always admired, and I have another guy that I look up to as a mentor, as a former coach of mine, who tells me one of his, not regrets, but a decision he probably would have changed was leaving a particular school. And you've been here for 17 years, and I wonder if that statement rings true to you, because I'm going to say it as a baseball guy from the outside looking in, I would love to have your job. Like, holy cow, you're living a dream. Do you feel what Scott Frost said in that UCF quote?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, the years just go by, right? You just kind of, you're in the middle of it, and you're just, I think in my opinion, some of the things I've learned along the way is the successful coaches, you're just trying to figure it out as you go. You're learning from a lot of people. And so you're just always looking for the next thing, right? And I've been here long enough that some of it just kind of takes care of itself. That's Augustana, and we're in a good place. So yeah, the recruits are more interested because you're more successful and you've had more pro guys. And so recruiting gets easier. It's not easy. We still lose guys all the time, but it just becomes, okay, what's next? What can we do differently? We don't want to just be happy with that. What other recruiting areas can we touch on? Fundraising, right? We're doing a new event this year. 17th year I've been here. First time we've ever done it. So I think really to truly look at it, you do get lost in what's going on because you're not sitting still. You're just looking for the next thing. And it's just always really hard to enjoy the moment and the successes. I think for me, and again, we've only done this one time. We won the national championship in 2018, and that was the only time the season finished, and you sit down and you just truly, because you won the last game of the year, you just have to look back and appreciate it.
Sure.
I've never done that in any other year of my coaching career, which is sad. You just, how can you? You lose the last game, you go home and you think about what's next and how do you get better. And so I've only had one opportunity my entire life of my coaching career to just be like, enjoy it and look back on it, and so few people get that opportunity unless you're at these just big time powerhouses that win multiple national championships.
Sure. So. Let me ask you this. You wake up every morning as a college baseball coach. You have a beautiful wife, a beautiful son, Wrigley, right?
Yep.
And he's probably going to be, he'll probably be a big leaguer, knowing his daddy. He'll figure it all out. But what motivates you when you wake up as a college baseball coach? Like when you get up in the morning, it's December. Like, what motivates you to be your best?
I mean, from a professional standpoint, I say this a lot. I really hate to lose. I mean, with a passion, hate to lose. Probably more so than I like to win.
Yes.
And that just drives a lot. Like I said, I just think you try to figure it out and you try to do more. You try to do better. You just can't ever be satisfied. And that's how I've always lived from a professional standpoint. And honestly, I think it goes back to when we were players. I just was never happy with where I was at. I wanted to get better. I've always been a grinder and a worker. And I think it doesn't matter what you do or how you do it. If you have those kind of qualities, I think most people will figure out a way. And so that's what truly does drive me when I wake up in the morning, or probably more so at night when I'm laying there and I'm thinking about something that's coming up. It's like, I should go to sleep, but instead I'm trying to think about stuff that I could be doing. So yeah, it's from a professional standpoint, just always the want and the need to be better and do better and work harder. And, I always say this too, it's awful to ever say it out loud, but you just wish you could be as good in your personal life as you are from a professional sometimes.
Wow. Yeah.
And just do better, be better, be a better person, do all the right stuff. Sure. And sometimes we get so consumed in our work world, we forget about that too.
Yeah, man. And no, you're absolutely right. It's hard sometimes to have that balance because I know you are supremely motivated, man. There are days when I what you just said, I'm like, gosh, I forgot I had a family. And
Yeah,
I sorry, family.
right.
But did becoming a dad change your motivation and the way you look at at work, at coaching? What impact did becoming a dad have on your professional career?
Oh yeah, well, absolutely. I'm sure you could say the same. And I think it's funny. So Paul Blanchard's a guy
Oh
he's
yeah.
one of a few mentors of mine. But Blanche was a guy that coached at Southwest Minnesota
Oh
State,
yeah.
retired here recently a couple years ago, and he always brought that up to me. Like the stuff that you don't think about when you're in the middle, working hard. And I didn't have kids. He's like, it's going to change your life. It's going to change your life. I'm like, yeah. I mean, how much can it really truly change your life? And then you have a kid. You're like, yeah, he was pretty spot on. It does. It changes your life. I think it changes your mindset. I really do. I think back to when I was in high school. Another guy, Barry Wohler, was my high school football coach, and a lot of cool stories I can tell about Barry, which I won't bore everyone with. But Barry was just that guy. Like he just was a difference maker in our high school and frankly in my life. I owe him a lot about how he helped change my mindset and perspective. And anyway, I think some people, as you get older, you leave a program, and so our guys, because we were Barry Wohler's first high school coaching group that he ran through the gauntlet of, wow, that's hard, and then you leave and you're like, oh, he's getting soft. No, he's not getting soft. He's probably having a different perspective on what's going on. And so I think probably some players that played for me 10, 12 years ago would say, Coach Huber's got a kid now and he's getting soft. Like, no, there's the same expectations. You just have a different perspective and maybe a little bit more of a realization on what I think life looks like. And, you try your best to handle things a little bit differently and maybe a little softer, I guess. But the edge is still there. There's plenty of that when we're going about our business. But I think maybe that's part of what Wrigley has brought to the table is maybe, I guess softened me up a little bit around the edges. Internally, there's all the same stuff.
Yeah.
But hopefully, and part of that's just age too. As I get older, I think naturally you look at things a little bit differently. You try to take a breath a little bit more often. And so he's helped with that certainly. And it's another, I guess, just drive to do things the right way and be a good dad, all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah. Talking with Tim Huber, head baseball coach, Augustana University, national champions 2018, made it to the World Series last year. Guys, again, I'm gonna repeat this in case you're skipping around on this podcast today. But Tim, two teams in the country with more wins than Augustana since 2018, and that's Tennessee. Angelo State. I mean, guys, holy buckets. That's insane. But Tim, you've been coaching for so long. You've been in the game of baseball. I want to say this. I hated you as a player because you were better than us. Wow. And I hated Minnesota State. Back then we called them Mankato State. But I remember one time showing up to your place as a freshman and I was playing shortstop and I'm 0 for 2 with 2 punchies and I just no chance to hit whoever was throwing. And I remember I think we played you guys in St. Cloud for whatever reason because of weather or something. And you guys are up on us. And I remember I'm down 0-2 in my third at bat. And I just remember thinking, just frustrated at the plate. And there were these 3 dads standing above the third base dugout, just talking trash to me. And I deserve it. I sucked. But I was literally in that moment thinking, you know what? I'm going to swing and miss at this, and I'm going to throw my bat and hit one of those clowns. I didn't do it. I think I dribbled out, but I didn't strike out. But I just wanted to know, as from a player's perspective, I always like to reminisce. And if you were hated, that's a good thing because, dang it, I didn't like losing to you guys, and dang it, you could hit, and I hated all that. So, talking with Tim Huber on the Baseball Forward podcast. Tim, what's the most frustrating thing about coaching 18 to 22-year-olds?
Man, I think a lot of it is the nowadays, right? But even more so is just the mental side and I think for me it's become the unwillingness for those 18 to 22, 23-year-olds to recognize and realize that there's a true mental block there. I know we all know it's there. We had it too when we were younger. It's no different as you get older. You move through some of those things, but I've said this to our guys a couple of years ago. We had this discussion. We sat down and I just said, your generation, it's not nowadays, but just their generation, things change as time moves along. And your generation wants us as coaches and as older individuals to recognize these mental health things. Mental health. You need a mental health day. You need a break. And I said, you do to some extent, right? Yeah. Like, sure, I'll recognize that. But how about you guys recognize the fact that your brain, your head is screwing up. It's making a mess of this whole thing. But you don't want that to be the reason why you're struggling or why you're not having success. And, like, figure that out. And so then if you can do that, if you can figure out that that's a problem, we can help you. We can figure out a way to get past it.
Wow.
But until you identify it as a problem, like, your brain is screwing you up. It's not your mechanics. It's not the, whatever you're pointing to that you think as a 18, 20-year-old is the reason. It's you. It's your head, and you're not allowing yourself to get out of the way. So I've started to talk a little bit more about that. That's, I guess, just a frustration with, again, if you want to say the term kids nowadays, just their generation is, they can't have, they want it both ways, right? No, that's not why I'm struggling. But yet, well, coach, I need a mental health day.
man, Tim, and I hear that, and knowing what I know of it through all my listening and horrible mistakes I made, ownership is what I hear out of that, is really being aware of who you are, your strengths, your weaknesses. And then as a coach, I mean, you coach, I'm assuming you coach because you're in the business of helping young men reach their potential or figure things out for themselves. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, growth in general. And again, right, it's the same thing. As you get older, you realize what the life perspectives that you're teaching, these young men, how important they are. I always believe that. I really always have. I've always said the term, people quote me sometimes, there's more to it than baseball. Like, I've always said that. I think that, again, now it's set in even more, and you really see it, because now I have guys that played for me that are dads. So I talked to a guy last night. Such an awesome story. I reached out to some guys that I coached way back at Dakota County Technical College, where I got my head coaching start. And we're almost 20 years past that point now. Wow. And one of the guys I talked to last night, and I hadn't talked to him in 19 years, and he's living his life, and he's got some kids, and he was telling me what's going on. And so, but again, like, he sent me a text message. I sent the guys a letter just checking in with them. And he, his text message, as you can probably imagine, was so positive and so awesome to hear from my chair. That's not what I was looking for at all. But it makes you think back, like, holy crap, that was 19 years ago. Dang. And he literally, I was a young coach, didn't know what I was doing. He's like, you helped essentially shape my life. And that's not exactly how he put his text message. Yeah. But, you meant a lot to me. And, I'm like, geez, I wasn't trying to do that back then, Ross. I had no intentions of shaping anyone's life when I was, in my mid-20s being a head coach. I was just trying to win some games, and move on and move forward. Well, now it's so much more intentional in shaping the person. And then get the cool part of this, like, win more if they're good people and good kids and they go about it the right way, the mental capacity, all those things. You're going to win more games because they're in the moment when it needs to happen if they grow as a person.
Talking with Tim Huber, head baseball coach, Augustana University, on the Baseball Forward podcast today. Okay, so that's a good segue into the most frustrating thing, what we just discussed. So clearly, to me, it sounds like we're from where you sit right now. I mean, you telling me that story, that gives me goosebumps. That makes me think, wow, that is what this is all about. So what's the most satisfying thing from your position? What's the most satisfying thing about coaching now?
Yeah, I think it's just, maybe this is just me, I'm just wired this way, but I've always found satisfaction in seeing, and we have one of the coolest stories ever, and I hope it comes to a finalization here in the next couple of years. But I've always enjoyed seeing the development, the growth. Just seeing a guy that comes in as an 18-year-old, and they were either largely not recruited or not recruited at all, and then 2 or 3 years later, everybody's like, who is this kid? From a body perspective, I enjoy it because I'm a hitting guy, the swing mechanic changes that can happen. And I think some people, it's funny, I'll listen to these podcasts too, right? And some of your guys, they try to stay away from just mechanics of baseball. And I still think they're so darn important, the mental piece to the puzzle is a big deal. And when you talk hitting, being on time, all the things that are non-swing mechanic related are huge. I don't discredit that, but at the end of the day, if something's broke, somebody's got a broken swing, it's a broken swing, and I think there's too many coaches nowadays that don't want to talk about or focus on the swing mechanics. They just think it's too overblown. I'm like, I don't think so. I think if your swing doesn't change, some guys will never be successful. Now, at some point, they're going to get to a certain level where they do need to forget about their swing mechanics. I agree with all that stuff, but there's times there. Well, anyways, to circle back to your true question, what satisfies me is seeing the individuals go from largely maybe some level of success in baseball with all of a sudden just an absolute stud. And that's the body, it's the mechanics, it's all of those kind of things. And again, so maybe the most successful, and it's hard to point to this quite yet because he hasn't got to where he wants to get to and he has a goal. But I think Carter Howell, from an individual standpoint, Carter's with the Giants in AA right now. And it was awesome because this just culminates everything as a coach and what we're talking about right now. His wedding was out in Spearfish, South Dakota.
Nice.
Thanksgiving weekend. And there was, I think, more baseball players there than I've ever seen at a wedding in a fairly remote location on a holiday weekend, which is pretty telling for the kid.
Heck yeah.
Right. That the people cared enough. And I went out there and there was no current players. So it was awesome. I could have a couple beverages and hang out for the weekend. And I stayed in Deadwood. And it was just, for me, it was really cool personally to see all that going on. But then Carter, hit a short version of his longer story. He came into our program as a 155-pound high school, 160-pound kid.
Wow.
Got to 195 as a third or fourth year guy with us, and he got faster. Went from a 6'6" to he had a sub 6'4" 60. He was
holy buckets.
Yeah, 40 pounds. And again, I always tell this story. He played JV as a freshman. He redshirted as a second-year guy because he just maybe wasn't quite ready yet, and he made that decision, not us. I brought it up to him, but ultimately Carter made the decision to redshirt. And by his third year, that was the 2020 COVID year, and he just took off like gangbusters. And then the season got shut down. And his next year is his fourth year. He was one of the best players in our conference. The following season, the Giants took him after the draft. He goes to the Arizona Fall League the following year. And this past year, again, fast forward to the right now, he was AA all season long, and he was the offensive player of the year for the Giants in AA.
Oh, my gosh.
But again, like that tells you he was a Division II baseball player. For 2 years, he couldn't play for us. And now, again, he's knocking on the door, and who knows if he'll get to the big league. So I just, personally, that to me is what it's all about. That's what I do, why I do it. And that's just one individual. There's a ton of them out there. That's what makes it cool for me.
Carter Howell. With it. Hey, shout out to Carter Howell. Man, I didn't know that story. I know we've talked about him before, but I didn't know the whole background. You guys, let that be a testament. Okay, so he's the offensive player for the Giants in AA every day. He's going to get an opportunity at the big leagues at some point. So he signed as a free agent. Is that, or did he get drafted?
Yeah, didn't even get drafted. Yeah, look at all the scouts that missed on that one, right?
So I'm gonna circle back to this, but I want to say, if you're listening to there, you're a young guy out there. That's the beautiful thing about baseball. If you have the desire and the want to keep going, and as long as you're playing and growing and learning, there's a chance. That's what's awesome about baseball. So Carter Howell, I love you for that, and what a testament. I hope everyone can go follow that guy. Okay, so I'm going to give Coach Huber a chance to gloat on himself. Clearly, you saw that in Carter Howell, and I want you to be real about this. What do you see in that kid?
Athleticism. He's the type of guy I always say we like to recruit. He had some foot speed. He had some tools and some skills. But like I said earlier, there was some major swing mechanic changes that had to happen. Okay. And part of it was a strength thing. If you weigh 160 pounds, you're probably we've all seen this. You're changing your swing to be successful at whatever size you are, or basketball players. Back when you were a little kid, what'd you have to do to throw the basketball through the hoop? Or you just get it to the hoop.
That's right.
Your shot was a mess. It's not how it's supposed to look like. Whereas what do they do with little kids? You bring the goal down, you bring the basketball hoop down so that you don't have to change your shot, and you can actually get better by having it be lower. Well, anyways, long story short, as he started to get stronger, and we saw that the athleticism, the skills, the tools were there. The swing changes really helped him improve. And then at the end of the day, like these are always the difference makers. He was willing to put the work in, and he was willing to accept the fact that he wasn't there yet. We all want it. Like Carter wanted it. He still does. He wants to get there. He's going to have a ton of challenges because he's not a bonus baby. And you're right. His path is going to be way harder and way longer than most guys get into the big leagues. But he's going to want it. He's going to keep working at it. He understands who he is. And he always knew that back when he was in our program too. He wanted to play. He wanted to be a stud. But he probably recognized, again, the fact that he made the decision to redshirt his second year in college.
Wow.
That's hard to do. He knew he had some talent, but maybe wasn't there yet. And we just could see that he was going to get there. Otherwise, I've told some other guys this, Coach, what do you think about redshirt? And I'm like, well, this is hard to say, but I don't know if I see you as a stud for us in 3 years. Like, keep working hard. Don't get me wrong, but we don't ask everybody to redshirt. That's, it's somebody you have to really like that you can see a bright future for. It's just it's not there yet.
Talking with Tim Huber here today, Augustana University head baseball coach. Tim, that's hard, man. It's hard. I can't imagine, but for a lot of people out there listening, it's hard to be honest when it comes to somebody's dreams. Like I once had someone tell me, I'm in the business of making dreams come true and in the business of killing them, right? And what I want to know from you is, why is it so important to you to have those honest conversations with a guy, and what does that mean for you?
Yeah, that's an awesome question, and I think I have a hopefully an awesome answer, at least an answer for it for sure. Number one, I've said this a lot. I don't really care. I don't care what you think. If you don't like what I have to say, I just don't care. I'm going to be real, and you've heard me say that before, but to me, the answer to your question is it's actually a fairly simple one. If I'm the guy that wants to just pat you on the back and tell you how great you are all the time, and that's all you ever hear, how hard are you going to keep working? You're just going to feel like you're so good that there's no drive there to keep working more, to get better, to improve, to, again, they're 18 to 22-year-olds. We don't hit our ceiling as far as our potential goes for years after college. It takes a couple, 2-3 years after college till you truly hit your prime as men. And so, man, I again, like, it's funny, but there has never been a guy in our program where I've just said, hey, just hang out this off season. You're just where you need to be. That's no way. Like, it's like, what else can we work on? You're struggling with this. You need to get better with that. It's like, literally, it's the name of what my position is. It's coaching. I'm coaching someone. I'm a coach, and yeah, I do need to work on the positive stuff, as I'll laugh out loud. And anybody that would ever hear me say that would laugh with me. But yeah, I want to coach guys. We want you to continue to improve. And so the reality is, you have to be honest with someone in order for them to recognize that there is that growth potential. There's that improvement behind who they are and what they're doing. It's not that hey, you don't suck. I'm not saying you suck right now, but you can continue to improve and get better, and we've got a guy, I won't say his name, but with the Canaries right now, and he's a really talented baseball player. And I think he has growth there. And he needs to sit down with Coach Huber and stop hanging out this offseason and let's go get better. You want to get signed by an organized team. That's great. It doesn't just happen. It doesn't work that way. Yep. Like, you're really, 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 really talented and you deserve an opportunity with a major league team, but they aren't just come crawling and knocking down your door. You got to just go get it, so do something different.
So I want to take it another step, because, man, if I was going to describe you, I would describe you as accountable, ownership, not really caring about outcomes, although I know how competitive you are, process oriented. Do you said you talked about mentors earlier. So for the young coaches out there listening, you talk to your players about how important it is to be working on getting better at your craft, essentially. So for coaches, how important is it for coaches to have somebody breathing life and truth into what they're doing?
Yeah, it's always huge. And again, it is what people talk a lot about, the growth mindset and always wanting more and to continue to improve. And, there's some coaches that we play against that I think don't have that. And they've historically had successful programs, but they just think they're too cool and they hang out in the position that they're in. And next thing you know, well, Augustana's gotten better and we're passing you by, and I'm like, that's a you problem. We're going to keep working. We don't think we're the coolest thing out there. It is really hard here. The perception is that Augustana's got this great job and great program. Like it's hard to stay here. It's hard to get here. It didn't happen by accident. We don't have a lot of things. People don't realize that. But yeah, I think from a coach's perspective, I do have some mentors for sure that I try to lean on, and they have some different things that they provide for me, certainly at this point in my life. And, I mentioned Blanche. He's a guy that I always could go back to for the X's and O's and the baseball piece, because he loves it. He breathes it. The organizational stuff he's awesome with. He enjoys all that piece of the puzzle and how to teach it. For me, the big one has always been being Dean Boyer, a guy that was my college coach at Mankato. You know who that is. And he's just a guy that I think in so many ways, I'll never be able to come close to how he goes about life and what he does. But just the person that he is, how much he cares about his guys. He just has a different personality than me, so he's way better at showing that. But I've just always appreciated that, and at the same time, like for me, this is have a lot of similarities just from a competitive standpoint. Like he just had a lot more competitiveness than people ever realized. That you wouldn't know that unless you're around him more often. And so again, no surprise that they were so successful during his time as a coach. So yeah, I think just surrounding yourself with those people that I still stay in touch with. And sometimes it's a little more simple later in life as a coach that you don't have as long of conversations, but it's good to touch base. And I still talk to them about just different things on these same discussion points.
Man, I love it. And talking with Tim Huber of Augustana University today on the Baseball Forward podcast. I want to say this, Coach Blanchard, hello, if you listen to this. Coach Blanchard actually recruited my brother and I at Southwest, and I loved the guy. I was so, oh my gosh, I was so impressed with him. And obviously it didn't work out, but boy, you talk about grade A prime type dude. And that makes a lot of sense to me that he's one of your mentors. That tells me the importance of because you're a head coach. So I want to know, in your opinion, like what's the importance, like the guys you hire, the guys you put yourself around, the assistant coaches. Talk to me about kind of your process in who you bring in, who you allow in, and who you hire as assistant coaches.
Yes, good question. So it's pretty cool right now. I can say this: every guy on our staff is a former player of mine. So
wow,
I guess they didn't hate me that much. They decided to come back and work for us. But the loyalty piece is always going to be a big one. I think you have to start there. The familiarity in what we do and how we do it. And I think it takes a special person to work for me. I hate to say that out loud, but that's the reality. And so that's part of the puzzle. They played for me. They know who I am. They know how to, just stay out of the way sometimes.
Wow. Very good.
The way that I work. And then, at the end of the day, from an assistant coach standpoint, there's a couple things I always talk about. Number one, and this is definitely a Blanche thing. He always said this, is you have to be able to teach it. You got to be able to teach the game. I just, especially in our chair at the Division II level, if you can't teach the game, if you can't help your guys get better, man, you're not going to be successful. There's too many good programs out there. And now the transfer world that we see, and, you see these power schools that are down south, closer to your area or in Florida, they're just really transfer heavy. So they have a ton of Division I guys that bounce back, and their talent is so good. And they're good coaches. I'm not saying they're not, but they don't have to be as good at coaches because they get so much better talent.
Yep.
We're not getting the same talent guys that some of these schools are, and they show up and they can be really good. So again, from an assistant coach standpoint, for me, you got to be able to teach a little bit of the game. And then I think for me, I'm looking for guys that stick around. That how can you help our program improve? How can it get better? I'm going to do a lot in my chair, but I want you to think like you're the head coach. How do you go about, thinking day to day to help us improve? What can you bring to the table? And some guys do that better than others, but I hope that those could be the guys, at least when I'm going to look for a paid. I only have one full-time assistant. If I'm going to look for a full-time assistant, what is that person going to bring to the table that can help us move the needle a little bit, because again, we're not just happy sitting where we're at.
It's fun to hear you talk about like your coaches and the guys that are around you, because I hear it so much. It's hard to trust guys. It's hard to trust assistant coaches. So you got to kind of really dig in and get to know them. So that makes sense? Former players that really know your personality, but at the same time, you know them really well. And loyalty, man. I want to go into this because I'm just going to be blunt. The transfer portal, to me, I hate it. It's just gross. It makes me. It makes recruiting gross. It makes when you and I were coming up, and I hate to sound, that makes us sound old, but it was about team. It was about, I want to be there and I want to grow and camaraderie and all that stuff. And I feel like now we're losing that. So I want to know this, Tim Huber, head baseball coach at Augustana University, as it relates to the transfer portal. Give me your thoughts on the transfer portal. But where do you stand as it? What is your foundation and your thoughts on the transfer portal and how it relates to your program?
Well, on both sides of it has. I mean, it hasn't been a non-factor, but pretty darn close. We really haven't. It's coming. I mean, we have so many talented guys right now, especially on the mound, that there's going to be some opportunities there. But guys like what's going on here. So again, I guess that's a toot our own horn for a second. They've wanted to stay here, even though they have the talent to go somewhere else. You know, Coach Collison, my assistant, always says this about Carter Howell. You know, we talked about him earlier. He would have had a 6 year of eligibility. The Giants signed him. He was coming back to Augustana. He wasn't going to go jump in a portal and go to some Division I school. He liked what was going on here, you know. But that kid's in AA now. The Giants signed him, so he could have played anywhere in the country. I mean, but he liked it here. So we don't lose a lot of guys. And then on the flip side, we don't have a ton of incoming guys that we get out of the portal either. It's an occasional situation, and oftentimes it's a typical connection or somebody you knew in recruiting or somebody on our team that knows a kid that hates his experience somewhere else and wants to go to a place like ours. But at the end of the day, it's still, like I said, we're Division II school, so we're not going to be the ideal location for people that are going to go somewhere and or leave somewhere and go somewhere else. But in general, it's just, you're right. The portal piece of the puzzle. Here's where I think, I'm sure you and I have the same thought processes with it. I think it sucks. I think it's stupid. I think it shouldn't be so easy. But at the end of the day, like, where I do understand it is the monetary stuff that's out there was not there when we were in college. You know, the opportunities that are there for some of these kids when they're really talented, man, it's hard to argue with that. I get that. But at the same time, we haven't had a player, even though they're really talented here, get $1 million offer and an NFL opportunity somewhere, something crazy like that, you know. And if anybody ever came into me like, Coach, what do you think? This is, you know, I'm hearing, because, you know, some of our guys even have these advisors now. Like, my advisor is saying I could maybe go get this much money somewhere else. Really? Well, maybe you should probably do that if that were the case. But I'd like to think that we would try to find a way to figure it out financially on our end too. Not to the $1 million case, but if it's a few thousand here, a few thousand there, or covering a scholarship now, whatever we can do, well, you've earned that. Let's take care of you. We want to take care of our guys that are here. So I think full big picture side of it, I don't love it, but it's not going to go away. You have to kind of figure it out. We're just going to keep going about our business and trying to do things the right way, taking care of our own players, and then, you know, hopefully we can grow with the times as it moves on and be one of the first Division IIs. Or we're not the first, because I know there's some Division II baseball programs that are giving NIL money right now. But maybe we can grow into that piece of the puzzle too, and give some opportunities for our guys. And then why the heck would they leave if we're as you using your own words, if we're a national power at our level, we're in a great city and they like their experience here, you know, like, why would they leave? They wouldn't be looking for it.
Yep. I love that. Tim Huber, Augustana University, on the Baseball Forward podcast. Tim, I want to get back. We got about 10 minutes left with you here today. I want to, you talked about mechanics, and you were a hitter, man. You were a stud, and that's what you're known for. So I want to give some helpful advice to the hitters. And I think what would be helpful is if, like, you describe how you evaluate a good hitter. And if you see a guy, you're going out and watching a guy for the first time, or even it's just a kid out there, you know, hitting, like, what are you looking at? What makes a good hitter? And then Yeah, and we'll start right there. What makes a good hitter? What are you evaluating?
Yeah, I mean, from the college level standpoint, it's probably different than just playing baseball in high school or youth levels. But bat speed's always going to be king, and having some ability to move the barrel a little bit. And anytime you can generate some bat speed, move the barrel through the zone, you're just going to have a better chance. And again, like if the difference is if you're, like I said earlier, if you're the 160-pound guy that needs to put on 20, 30 pounds, you could potentially see some bat speed improvements coming there. Like that's always a possibility. But at the end of the day, sometimes if your bat speed's really, really low, it's going to be hard, even if you do gain some good strength and weight.
Sure.
So that's where it's going to start. And, I think just it's too long to really get into the true depths of what I'm looking for, but there's some swing mechanic things that I'll try to stay away from, movement pattern wise, and what the hands do, those kind of things. I just think there's some things that there's always everything you can fix to some extent. Some are harder than others. And so yeah, we just try to look at a good athlete that has some bat speed, and then you work from there. I think.
It is, I know this is probably a stupid question, but I'm going to ask it anyway, right? Is bat speed to you a number?
No, absolutely not. It's not a stupid question either, because I think that's the thought process. I think there's still the eye test, and if you don't have that as a coach, you're not going to be very successful in evaluating players. The exit velocity off the bat, I'm not going to say it means nothing to me. It's something, but if you can't see a guy when you're on the side of a hitter watching the game, if you can't see the bat come through the zone with some speed compared to a different kid, you probably shouldn't be out recruiting. I just there's something there that's an eye test thing. That's not because again, like exit velocity. Now, granted, nowadays you can put a bat sensor right on the end of your bat, and you can get a true bat speed, and the numbers can tell you what the bat speed is. Well, yeah, that's not going to lie, but the exit velocity can absolutely lie. It means you got to actually square the ball up to have a high exit velocity. It doesn't have anything to do with hand speed. Well, I take that back. They correlate for sure.
Yep.
But you can have a guy that just has crappy contact all the time that has awesome bat speed. That can happen, right?
Yep.
So yeah, to me, I'm more looking, and maybe we should be staying away from those guys anyways if they continue to have bad exit velocity, even though they have good hand speed, because again, that just means successful.
You go to a Carter Howell because he was 155 pounds, and you go to a young guy. So like when you tell me eye test, what I hear is, guys, and to the listeners out there that don't know what eye test is, and they're like, oh, they're numbers. Okay, here now listen. An eye test means when I hear a coach, a respectable coach, talk to me about eye test, that tells me you have enough in your database up here in your head to know what it looks like and to know what it doesn't look like. And the eye test is a guy like Coach Huber has seen so many swings that I know, like for somebody like me, when I watch a guy, I'm like, if he was 30 pounds more, or 10 pounds more, or if he was a little bit bigger, could I see him in a big league uniform? So when you're talking about the eye test, because gosh, I'm not anti metrics or analytics or anything like that, but
yeah, same.
But you hear there is an element of intangible awareness that you have to be able to evaluate baseball. Talk to me a little, to the parents out there listening, to the kids out there listening, when they say, man, he passes the eye test. Well, his batting average isn't the same. Talk to me about the eye test.
Yeah. So, again, from a swing mechanic perspective, it has to, just use a simple term, it has to work. Sometimes those are even some simple notes I'll write down when I'm at a showcase or out recruiting. Like, it works well. The swing works well. Fundamentally, it works well. But, again, then you go back to, okay, what are the underlying issues? Why aren't there big schools recruiting this kid? There's always something that's missing. Size is always a piece to the puzzle, and we've done really, really well with guys that are either undersized or skinny or what have you, and it's just time, get in the weight room, get after it. But if it works well, then I think the next thing from an eye test perspective, now when I say works well, there's some relativity to that, and that's going to be everybody's a little different opinion on what truly works well with the swing. But extension, for example, if the hands have the ability to get away from the body as they work through contact, is a big one for me. Their path, I think, is still important, their bat path. that's something you can certainly change as a coach. I truly believe that, but again, like if they just have, my experience, if they have bad extension and they're swinging around their body a lot, it's just a really hard teach. It's a hard thing that guys just either have it or they don't to some extent. And so then again, like the eye test from a bat speed perspective, boy, I just think that's such an elite skill that a coach has or doesn't have. And I've had some coaches with me that struggle with some of those evaluation tools. Like the guys that are, like you just said, if they're big league bat speed, most people can see that.
That's right.
If you have any general baseball knowledge. I just think it's the high school kid that has had success, he gets hits and he does pretty well compared to, let's just say, a guy that's a little higher on the spectrum, not the elite bat speed guys, but a little higher on the spectrum with bat speed, hand speed. You need to be able to see that, in my opinion, because that's, at least in my level, those are the guys that we have to decide upon. And again, it's just very, it's an eye thing. I don't know how else to put it.
It's hard. But this is what I want to clarify is, if Tim Huber tells me he passes the eye test, this is what it means. If you're listening, parents without the knowledge, if Tim Huber tells me, Ross, he passes the eye test, what that means is Tim Huber has millions and millions of swings that have happened in this head that he's seen. They're in this data. They're in this bank in his head. That's what the eye test is. So you kind of got to trust the source. Talking with Tim Huber, Augustana University in the beautiful town of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, on the Baseball Forward podcast. I want to say this real quick before I get to my last question. One of the guys you recruited this year, I'm so happy that he's at Augustana, because one of the best young men I've ever come in contact with, Kaysen Severson. His mom and dad are awesome. And I'm just so happy that he's going to get to play for you, because I think that's where he's going to go become his best. So Kaysen Severson, hey, buddy. Last question. Yeah, maybe one or two. I want to know this about you. Old Wiley veteran. Do you have any regrets on your baseball life?
Man, good question. I don't know that I do have any regrets, because, I think, well, I take that back. I have one very specific one. It's girl related. It sucks to say that out. But I graduated college, and, you said it yourself. I could hit a little bit. Had some injury stuff along the way. And, as I think back, I always say we know as we're older, we can look back and be realistic. And I could play a little bit. I probably wasn't I was never going to be a major league guy, but I was absolutely good enough to go play some independent baseball. And instead, I went and got a job and moved in with a girlfriend at the time, and just decided to move on past baseball for whatever stupid reason. I to this day, I still don't know why I made that decision. Even as 5 years after that, I'm like, oh, maybe I should get back into it. Well, it's too late.
Yep.
So I guess that's maybe one regret, and it doesn't matter. I was never going to make it or go anywhere. But as stupid as this is too, from a resume standpoint, saying I played, professional baseball for a summer or two or three, people view you differently. They all of a sudden think you know more and you're better at what you do.
Yep.
BS, I'm not, but that's part of the thing too. So I guess that's maybe one thing. And who knows? That's
a good one. Hey, I want to let you know, just, hey, we're all, this is therapy sometimes for all of us old baseball guys is, hey, one of the decisions that maybe might have factored into me going to Augustana out of high school might have had to do with a girl too, and that didn't work out. So the young men that are listening out there, listen, girls are awesome. I get it. But I have a good buddy named Ryan Robertson, who played AAA with the Marlins, big dude, and he says when we coached together years and years ago, but he would tell the guys, high school guys, every year, women have ruined more baseball careers than drugs and alcohol combined. So take that for what it is. Hey, women, we love you, moms, sisters, we love you, wives, all of it. We love you. But as it relates to baseball, hey, ease up on these guys a little bit, ease up on these guys when they're chasing those dreams. Last question for you, Tim Huber. One thing you would do to improve the game of baseball?
Well, I mean, I number one, some of the major league stuff that's going on has got to stop. I mean, I don't like where that's going because it starts at the top and works its way down to the levels. For example, now why do we have a pitch clock? Because they decided that they were going to do it Division I and Major League, and
crazy.
Now we've all of a sudden have no choice at our level. It's stupid. I still have a saying on something I give to our players at every wedding. You know, the best designed sport is baseball, and part of the saying, it goes on to say, played without a clock. Well, now it can't. That's not even true anymore. You play with a stupid clock.
I didn't think about that. Yeah.
But that's not my specific thing. I just think leave the game alone. Quit trying to change everything. I mean, this most recent thing that they're coming up with of having a hitter be inserted into the lineup and at any spot to replace.
Dumbest thing ever.
What are we doing? Like, come on, Ross. Are you kidding me?
Stupid.
And I love some of the stuff you see on social media now that just is ripping on that. And thank God, because it deserves to be ripped on. But yeah, just I think keeping the game, and to me, it's as simple as going. So it starts at the top, right? And so the Major League Baseball, what they do, it works its way down to the youth levels, and they emulate that. And so I think there's some things that we would like. I'd love to see it go back to maybe a little bit more old school. There's nothing wrong with the game of baseball. Let's quit trying to change it. And then man, everybody says this from a youth perspective, but finding a way to get the kids to go be kids again, not have to have mommy hold their hand and to go to the neighbor's house for crying out loud. Like, go play baseball, go do the pickup games, go do sandlot stuff. I think one other thing that we didn't talk about today, like, where did my passion come from baseball? And I know this is something you wanted to ask.
Yeah.
It came from doing that crap. It was being out in the backyard with the neighbor kids that were older than me and figuring out how to compete and be more successful than those older kids. But that was all in the backyard. It wasn't dad putting the ball on the tee for me or throwing to me. I mean, again, like, I made sock balls, rag balls, duct tape, and I just pick up a bat and whack them through the yard and enjoy doing all that kind of stuff. So I think that for me, again, my perspective would be get the top level to figure out to just leave the game alone, quit trying to change it all the time. And then hopefully that trickles back down to the youth levels that, hey, just go be baseball players, go enjoy it more. And I think the days of where our kids can just go anywhere in town and trust that it's going to be safe are probably done. And that's hard to go back to my other point, but I just wish we could find a way, and some people are doing this. I love when I see a buddy of mine that has built a wiffle ball field in their backyard or stuff like that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, I said something to my wife last night, and I was like, "Oh, that's actually pretty impactful." And I said this: I want to be able to tell how much you love the game by the way you play it. If I can't tell how much you love the game by the way you play it,
love it.
Then what you just said right there. That's how you develop the love, because you're making it yours. You're taking ownership of it, but you're doing it because you love it. And when you love doing something, it shows. Comment on that.
Yeah, no, I say this to our guys literally every single winter. Some of the stuff I talk about what it looks like to be in our program, just kind of before we get to game one, I just always go over stuff. What are the road rules? What are, how do you play? One of the really simple things, and I always have a hard time describing it, is kind of what you're talking about. Just play the game the right way. And you always get these looks like, well, what does that mean? Well, just play the game the right way, hustle down the line, hustle on and off the field. One thing that I harp on our guys all the time, like, it is not very hard. The out gets made, run into the dugout. You're on offense, the last out gets made, get your butt on the field.
That's right.
I use myself as an example. I'm 47 years old now. I played amateur ball again this summer. And,
that's awesome.
Trust me, there was plenty of games where my body felt like garbage. And the last out got made, and I'm standing out there in right field in like the 8th inning, and my back is sore. I did not want to jog off the field all the way to the dugout, but I always did, because that's just playing the game, having some respect for what it's supposed to look like. And again, I think as you've gotten older, you appreciate it more, but why can't you appreciate it when you're 14 or 16
wow.
and, college guy at 18 or 20? It's not complicated. So that's a really simple point. I love that, because those are the kind of guys that we're looking for. And I'll give you one really quick last story. And it was a hard one for me this weekend, but it was Carter Hall's wedding weekend. But it was awesome at the same time. A former player, and I'm going to say his name, Ryan Nickel, former player of mine, who I only got to play 2 seasons for me. And the reason was because he wanted to be a Navy SEAL so bad. He left college. It was during the COVID time. So he finished college a little early, and he's now a Navy SEAL. And we were talking at the wedding, and Ryan said, Coach, I don't even remember. You didn't really recruit me, or we were talking about how much I watched him play in high school. I said, Ryan, that's the reason we ended up recruiting you. You recruited us way harder than we recruited you. And I just, I'm like, fine, I'll go watch this kid. And every time I did, he just played so hard.
Wow.
That I'm like, okay, we got to take this guy, So on our national championship year, it's an awesome story. He hit 5th in our lineup as a freshman for a guy that I wasn't even recruiting. He recruited us, but he's a Navy SEAL now, Hawley. Like, he has intangibles that most of us do not have. Correct. Yeah, he's ripped. But even back then, he just there was something different about how he went about his business. And I love the kid. And we had awesome conversations. It's great to catch up at this last wedding. But I kind of forgot my point. My point is here, he played the game the right way. He played it hard. I saw that as a coach, and I'm like, how can I not recruit this guy? I don't know how successful he's going to be.
Wow.
Because there weren't a lot of people recruiting him. But it was something that we noticed as a coaching staff that I did for sure. He's going to help us somehow, some way. Wow. Sure enough, he just had a difference about him, and then we win a national championship his freshman year. 2019, we were a really good program again. And as a sophomore, he was one of the leaders on our team. I'm sorry if I'm going over time.
No, we got plenty of time.
I love this because this is what it's all about. And this is why I think programs are successful. It doesn't come from my chair all the time. You try to help. But Ryan, we had let's just say it was a month earlier. It was late November. And our guys we usually run outside a couple days a week and get some conditioning in and speed and agility. And there was a day where our strength coach told me the story. And I told Brian this at the wedding, and he remembers it. It was kind of a day, let's just say it was 30 degrees or 35 degrees, whatever it was. It wasn't a long day.
Balmy out there.
Yeah. And our strength coach was like, hey guys, what do you want to do? Do you want to go outside and, run outside, or we can just go in the gym? Or he's like, let's go in the gym. Everybody's around. Let's go in the gym. And Ryan goes, I didn't win a national championship last year to just be a bunch of, whats and go run inside. We're going outside. Everybody's like, okay.
I love it.
They ran outside that day.
Yes, they did. Wow. Hey, and guy, that is so impactful, Tim, to hear. You said his name is Ryan Nickel.
Ryan Nickel, yeah.
To hear Ryan Nickel, like he made you recruit him because he knew how special he was. He believed in himself. And the fact that he's a Navy SEAL, that's the hardest thing on this planet to do. And he's a Navy SEAL because he doesn't put limitations on himself. What an inspirational story. I need to get his number. That's incredible because that as a coach, that's got to be one of your most satisfying. I heard Cade Griffiths was with DBAT tell me, he told me one time, and he said, you gotta make yourself valuable. You gotta develop and find reasons for me to not fire you. Make yourself so valuable that I can't fire you. And that's what I hear about Brian Nickel is, you got to see me. I'm valuable. You need me. You don't know it. That's fine. I'm not worried if you're. Wow. That's got to be satisfying.
Oh, it's awesome. And again, like just full circle now that he's married, and as life moves on and he, we're talking about his training and where he's going next and all these kind of things. I the only thing I ever give him crap about, I'm like, really could have used you those couple years where we didn't get back to the series, because I told him this at the wedding. I said, hey man, you would have been the difference maker. We would have got back again during your time. I have no doubt about that, Ross.
Wow.
I have no doubt.
What how did he respond to that? Like what was
what do you say? I'm putting him, it's hard because I'm giving him such a positive message, but also like, well, crap, coach, way to really push me down, and say we didn't get there because I wasn't there. But I'm like, man, that's just who you were, and I knew that. I recognized that you were one of those guys, and you did it really early in your career. Your freshman, sophomore year, you were that guy. What the heck would that guy have been like as a junior and senior? Like, holy cow, he would have not allowed us to lose.
What so you kind of talked about like how he recruited you, but like when you see him, um, give because the audience is they want to know what it takes. I mean, that's on another level. Just supreme leadership is what you saw.
Ton of energy. The stuff I just said earlier, he's on and off the field. He's, a teammate. It's not fake stuff. He's just excited about playing baseball. It's just immersing yourself, I think, in the team and the game. I think as soon as you have to, like nowadays, all this coach speak stuff on what we're looking for, you start to see guys purposely trying to do stuff to stand out. That kid never did that. He loved his teammates. He wanted to win. He's hustling around because he didn't know any different, and again, like, this isn't about me, but I'm 47 years old. I pulled my hamstring playing amateur ball this summer because, and you know how I did it? I don't think I told you this. I was stealing home like in a playoff game to get to the state tournament. I don't know how to do it any other way.
Dog, were you safe?
I was safe. Yeah.
Yeah.
I gimped into home, but the point is, like, you can't turn it off if it's in there, so you can see a lot of this stuff. Now, I think you can help bring kids up with that mindset as they're younger, and then hopefully that's instilled in them, and then they do just do it naturally instead of, well, this college coaches are here, I should be the first guy out of the dugout to give high five to my teammates, because that's what they all think it is.
Wow.
Well, I got to be outside the dugout and everybody can see me and I give high fives. It's like, nah, I mean, you can see some of it's fake and probably some of it's real, but that's kind of the stuff I think you just can see still as a coach, that you can't put that in them. As we say, you can pull some stuff out if they're a little too energetic, they're too much to that. But I just love having guys like that. It's not fake. It's just playing the game and doing it the right way.
Gosh, and they will bite your nose off to win. They'll do whatever it takes to win. I'll finish with this, Tim. Having an 11-year-old and a 10-year-old that play baseball, and I think they're starting to really enjoy it, and as a dad, my message to them is be the best teammate. Just play really hard and really try to enjoy it. Like, find the enjoyment in it, because the enjoyment comes from playing hard. So what's your advice to, like, parents of younger guys out there? I mean, you're a dad. How do you coach? How do you teach Wrigley how to play?
Yeah, well, thankfully we're getting close to that point here. It'll be 5 this January, so I haven't had to do it yet. But
yep.
Even my sister will reach out with advice. She's got a couple kids in high school now, and they're bigger school than where I grew up. And she's like, well, it's different here than it was where we were. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's not different. The skills and the talent maybe are different. There's more kids, but at the end of the day, exactly what you said, you're spot on. You got a really good pulse on this, and you've talked to a ton of coaches about it. I bet a lot of them say the same thing, but it is truly starting with, just enjoy what you're doing or don't do it, and play hard, be a great teammate. I think for me, the cool part about anything is being involved with an athletic team is really, really hard. It doesn't matter if you're the best player or if you're the worst player. You got to be part of something. You got to find a way to be a part of something. And as soon as you can be a part of something, you're learning along the way. There's so many things that we just can't do in a different setting outside of athletics, that in our sport based on failure, especially as a hitter. So it's tenfold. You fail in anything you do in athletics, but baseball is even harder yet. And so if you're let's just say, nobody's going to ever call you this, but let's say you're the worst player on the team, how can you have a good experience? Well, go be a good teammate. You're not going to have a ton of fun if you're basing it off your successes.
Good point.
It isn't going to work, man.
Good point.
How can you be so frustrated that you keep sucking and striking out? Because that's probably who you are. Let's be honest here. But you know what? You can have a great experience and be a great teammate. And at the end of the day, like, when you get done playing with that youth organization or the high school team or the college team or whatever that is, you can say, like, man, I really enjoyed my time. I had a good experience doing that. And so many times it has nothing to do with successes or failures from an individual standpoint. Man, it just makes it so much easier if you can, but just being part of something, and again, since our program has made the run that it's made, our guys really enjoy being part of what's going on. Now, there's a huge grind that gets you to that point, But when you're in the moment at the end of the year, they just like being associated with that. And so, again, I just think that's really, really important. And even as simple as if you get cut from a team, my sister's asked this kind of stuff, like, well, what if he doesn't make the team or whatever? I'm like, does he want to be involved? Then go have a conversation with the coach. Like, hey, coach, I understand where I'm at. Maybe I'm not there. What can I do to improve? And this isn't a mom and excuse me. This isn't a mom and dad thing asking the coach. This is the kid.
That's right.
However old he is, 12 years old, 13, 14. Go have a conversation with the coach and start to be an adult and grow up a little bit and say, hey, I just want to learn. How can I get better? And then is there anything I can do to be a part of what's going on, whatever that might be? And I think there's always a place for that person, whether they're the scorekeeper or the team manager. Nobody wants that, but what's wrong with that?
And you know what? Because you played, I played, and I know you would say the same thing, is nobody remembers your batting average when you were a junior in college. Nobody remembers your ERA. Nobody remembers how many wins. Nobody remembers that stuff. Tim, what do they, as a teammate, what do they remember you as?
No, passion, on and off the field. I just was passionate about a lot of different things and competitive, fiery.
Being a good teammate.
Yeah,
for sure. One of the boys, caring about your guys.
But also, and I think this is important, which we don't see this much anymore, is being the guy that wasn't afraid to grab somebody by the jersey and push them to the back of the wall of the dugout. Be like, let's go, man. Like, figure it out.
Yep.
Whether it's, hey, this isn't about you, or quit pouting, or, again, just let's get a little bit more involved. I was that guy in college. They would absolutely remember that, especially the younger guys who need to figure out and learn a little bit. And you know what? That's how I got better. That's how I learned when I was a little freshman that didn't know what the heck I was doing. If I had a senior that would get on my butt and help me understand, this is what it looks like to be part of this thing, Wow. And again, whether that, I always say it for me, I hope that doesn't come from me in my chair. I got no problem doing that, but it means way more coming from your teammates when they say, nah, we're not doing it this way. Let's, again, back to the Ryan Nichols story. No, we're going outside today. Everybody's like, oh, I guess we are.
Yeah, we're running outside, guys. Tim Huber, please confirm with me that you're going to have Ryan Nichols come and speak to that team about what is really tough in life. Not, oh my gosh, I'm 0 for 10. Get over it. Please tell me he's coming to talk to your group.
Oh yeah, it's probably going to take him a little time because he's so busy, but we're for sure. There's a couple of those people, and we're going to start doing that stuff, is getting some guys here on our campus. We're doing that at this event, as a matter of fact. But yeah, no, he will be back for sure. We're going to let him get through his time as a SEAL and be a father, probably be a dad at some point, and then he'll be back on campus. I know he has a lot of respect for our program, and I can't wait to get him back and talk to our guys.
What a stud. And God bless him and all the other troops out there that are serving this beautiful country that we live in, the greatest country in the world. There's no doubt about that. It's not even close. Tim Huber, man, you're one of my favorite guys in baseball. I admire the heck out of you. I love watching what you're doing at Augustana. I love the fire that you have for the game. Keep doing what you're doing. Give us a final word, and then I'll take us out.
Yeah, I mean, for you personally, I want to say thanks. We got, as you know, JT Mix is back on staff here, and I can't say enough positive things about JT. And so for the people listening, I'll just say that JT's freshman year was the year we won the national championship as well. A lot of stories around that season. When he was a freshman, he started for us. He hit ninth. He had some 2 game-winning hits in the World Series that year. And the guy sitting here interviewing me is the reason that JT Mix showed up at Augustana University. I got his name from Ross. And so, again, just he's going to be an awesome – thankful he's coaching. You got him for a short stint to work with you down there, but we're happy to get him back into the coaching world. And he's doing an awesome job, and he's going to have a bright future in that business because of who he is and how he goes about his business. And then, I guess for me, I really appreciate it, what you're doing and how you're doing all this stuff and putting people – out there. It's always cool to listen to different perspectives, and it's back to what we said earlier. I want to always continue to get better, and it's by me listening to other people talk about their experiences, how they do things. Sometimes I'll listen and I'll be like, I think that sucks. That's no good. And that helps me understand something too. And then the next thing that person says, I'm like, that's genius. Why am I not doing that? So I think that's the cool part is there's probably a lot of stuff I said today. People are like, man, he's an idiot. And then some stuff like, yeah, maybe we should try that. So that's what this thing is all about.
I love it, Tim Huber. And for those of you out there that thinks whatever he said is an idiot, you're an idiot. And maybe you should try because he's a national champion and you're not. Anyway, I want to say thanks again to Tim Huber for joining us on the show. And thank you for listening to this episode of the Baseball Forward podcast. I'm your host, Ross Hawley, and I'll see you next time.